Hello, greetings from Northumbria. It's the 9th of October, a Friday. It's not quite sunrise, and at the moment it's a dry morning. Yeah, I know you love my my daily weather reports. Today there are two saints, but I'm going to think about one of them, St. Denis, who was martyred in about the year 250. I think it's great that we've got a saint called Denis anyway. Denis is now the patron saint of France, but he was an Italian, and he was sent as a group of missionary bishops in the 200s, in the 3rd century, from Italy into France, and he became the Bishop of Paris. And he was influential as someone who was bringing the people of Paris and the people of France to faith. But then came in the year 250 what's called the Valerian persecution. It was one of those waves of persecution that happened through the Roman Empire when a particular emperor or a particular situation turned things against the Christians. And it was a fierce persecution, and Denis and his companions were arrested, and they were tried, and eventually they were beheaded on Montmartre, the mountain of the martyrs, and their bodies were thrown into the River Seine, later to be recovered and revered by their followers and by Christians. So, what do we say? This is a man who came from Italy, went to France, and died for his faith. What does he say to us today? Well, there's a saying that says the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And I think what that means is that in the history of the church, evangelism, the proclaiming of the gospel, taking things forward has often involved suffering. We live in the United Kingdom, and indeed in many parts of the Western world, in a situation where there is no violent persecution of Christians. That, of course, isn't the case throughout the world. And there are many places where Christians face persecution, where they face hardship, where they face suffering, and where they face death. And it's worth remembering this. I worked for more than 3 years when I was based in Wakefield with Christians from Iran. And they had faced great hardship. I saw people who had been beaten. I saw people who'd been subjected to great suffering. And I heard their stories. Christians who, new to faith, had been prepared to face suffering, but also who were fleeing in order to have freedom to practice their faith. So on this day when we commemorate Denis, give thanks for his courage, we pray for Christians who suffer because of their faith, and we pray for those situations where even when Christians don't experience violent persecution, being a Christian is difficult. We pray that they may be strengthened and encouraged, and that we too in our own context may be prepared to speak about our Christian faith. May God bless us all today.